welcome to That's Cakeable. I'm Janine. I haven't said That's Cakeable for about the last 5 videos, and I don't know why. Anyway, it's Christmas time, which means it's time for Christmas cakes. And first cab off the rank is this chocolate velvet spray Christmas bauble cake. Try saying that 10 times fast. Some of those Christmas baubles are filled with a delicious chocolate ganache, which means we got Christmas truffles going on too. Hope you enjoyed this week's video. To build this cake, I have baked 4 6-inch round, 3-inch high cinnamon spice white chocolate cakes. Yeah, basically I just made my white chocolate mud cake and chucked some nutmeg and cinnamon in there. So what I'm going to do is split these cakes and then I'm going to cut the caramelization off the outside. So this time to cut the caramelization of the cakes, I've used a template. It's a 5.5-inch round because every time I try to do it freehand, it's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. So I just got a little OCD and made a template. After that, I'm going to fill it with some simple syrup. This simple syrup is spiked with a little bit of ginger wine just to give it a bit more festive feel. After that, I'm going to place my cake on its setup board, on its cake board, and then I'm going to start filling it with some vanilla Swiss meringue buttercream. Now that this cake is trimmed, filled, stacked really high, it's time to give it a crumb coat. And once I've done that, I'm just gonna pop back in the fridge to chill for a little bit. Now that the cake has had its crumb coat and some time to chill out in the freezer, it's nice and firm and ready to go. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I use a top board that's the same size as the base board as a guide to make sure I get nice straight edges, but I can't stress this enough with tall cakes. With tall cakes, if anything is off, you are going to notice it. The taller the cake, the more obvious it is. So now it's time for me to go ahead and start adding my good ganache coat. I will probably end up doing a few coats with a little bit of chilling in between, seeing as it is such a tall cake. But that top board will not leave the cake until the sides are done. Now that I've got the good ganache coat on my cake, she's looking pretty and straight up and down, I then flipped off the top with a hot knife and just leveled out the top with more ganache. If you want to see how I do that, I have done it in many other videos. Just click the eye here and it'll take you to one of those videos. Now, once the cake is all ready to go, I'm popping it in the freezer and leaving it in there for a good half an hour. You want it really, really cold because the fun is about to begin. I'm about to give my cake a chocolate velvet spray. To create my chocolate velvet spray, I've used some white chocolate and some cocoa butter. The ratio for my velvet spray is about 60% white chocolate and 40% cocoa butter. You melt these down, mix them together, and then add some fat-soluble food coloring. In this case, I'm using black and just a hint of blue. Mix them together and you want quite a fluid consistency because this has to go through a paint spray gun. Making sure that my velvet spray mixture is nice and runny, I'm now going to empty that into my spray gun container and start spraying the cake all over. It's best to do this on a turntable so you get more of an even consistency. Because the cake is so cold, once that spray hits the cake, it instantly sets and you get a velvety finish. Well, that was fun. Word of advice. Make sure you put up some sort of block or barrier or screen. I mean, these things are meant to paint walls, so they've got quite the reach. And no doubt I'll be seeing chocolate velvet spray around the studio for months to come. Why didn't my crew tell me? Oh, that's right. I don't have a crew. Now that we've got the gorgeous velvet spray on the cake, man, I love that effect. It's time to make my decorations. So to decorate this gorgeous velvet sprayed cake, I've just decided to make some chocolate baubles. I'm making 2 different sorts. The ones that I'm putting on the front of the cake are going to be hollow, just because I don't want to weigh them down too much and then them drop off the cake because, well, that's not very festive. The second lot of baubles that I'm going to put on top of the cake are going to be filled with a truffly rum cinnamon ganache because that is festive. To make the chocolate baubles, I start both types exactly the same. I take my half sphere molds, I've got 2 different sizes, and I fill them with some melted dark chocolate. I pour out all of the excess and then I pop them into the freezer to set for a little while. Once they're all set, I take them out of the freezer and unmold them all. Now for the chocolate-filled baubles, I place them loosely back into the molds and fill them with the chocolate ganache filling. I pop those ones back into the freezer for about 10 minutes just to make sure they're nice and set. Now it's time to put both of the half spheres together to make a sphere. Once they're all set, I take a biscuit tray that I've warmed up over a stovetop. I place each half sphere onto that warm baking tray just to melt them a little, and then I fuse them together, wiping off any excess around the outside. Okay, now that I have filled and fused all of my chocolate spheres, it's time to give them some colour. So to colour the chocolate spheres, I'm using a combination of silver, gold and rose gold dusts. Once they're dusted, I'm going to give them a quick spray with an edible lacquer and then a little bit of a sprinkle with some glitter just to make it extra Christmassy. Now that the spheres are all coloured and lacquered and sparkled and ready for placement, I'm going to make a mark on the front of my cake with a circle cutter as a guide to where I want to place my chocolate spheres. I want this to look a little bit like a Christmas wreath. To attach the chocolate spheres, I'm just going to use some melted chocolate and I'm just going to hit that with a little bit of freeze spray to make sure they're well adhered to the front of the cake. I'll go ahead and build that up until I'm happy with how it looks. And that is it. That is how you make a chocolate velvet spray Christmas bauble cake. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me again this week. We are on the festive train now, so this is probably going to be the first in the line of a few. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you're informed every time I upload a new video. Don't forget you can also watch my other videos right here. Until I see you next time, you know what to do now? Go and get your cake on. Bye.